Preserve Rural Durham presents Southeast Durham's traffic catastrophe.
All right, today we want to cover a topic that's, I've got my expert here with me, Pam. We're going to talk about all the development in Southeast Durham, particularly the Lick Creek watershed. We're going to focus on that today. There is recent release yesterday by our news agencies that Durham City and County are going to be studying some of the creeks in the Lick Creek watershed, such as Lick Creek, was it Briar Creek, I think was listed. There's several of them listed in there that they will be studying. If we see them around and about, to be alert, that's what they're doing. So it kind of jarred us to think about putting together a new video as we look at this development, because we haven't really showed it in a while how many developments are actually in Southeast Durham in the Lick Creek watershed alone. So today Pam and I are going to see what we can do to explain that a little bit more, and also to talk about the traffic, because we always talk about the lack of infrastructure and people think about police, fire, EMS, but something people don't think about is traffic and your roads and the ability for these roads to hold this traffic. We're going to start today with talking about just a tremendous amount of growth in Southeast Durham, and I'm going to let Pam explain how many parcels we have currently that we are following as they undergo construction.
Well, Southeast Durham, and we're mainly talking about Lick Creek watershed basin, and that is surrounded by NC 98, Sharon Road, US 70, and Leesville Road. Lick Creek watershed is in between all those roads. And there are major roads to get in and out of all these subdivisions, the smaller roads like Doc Nichols, Olive Branch, Kemp Road, Southview Road, and several other smaller roads that leads into these. With the traffic volume for NC 98, and I'm focusing on NC 98 and what we're talking about, because Howard Place went to the Planning Commission last month in March, and they're going to, that one development is going to increase the traffic on NC 98 by 4,452 vehicle trips per day. The NC 98 is already at a capacity of 15,000 plus vehicle trips per day. So now we're going to have 19,452 trips per day once that development comes to play. But this is just not NC 98 that it's going to affect, because those people work in various locations, not just in Durham, and they may be working in Raleigh. They have to get over to US 70. Both of these are over capacity at this time. The capacity of NC 98 based on NCDOT's tables is 14,600 vehicle trips per day. So we're already over capacity for NC 98, and with that one development, it's going to add additional trips. Just so you know, when I state that 15,000 is what our capacity is, it's based on traffic counts that was taken in 2023, the fall of 2023. Since then, several developments have been developed, and some are completely built out, a few of them. Some Olive Grove, okay, down Doc Nichols, Everett on Leesville Road, Fowler Farm actually built out in sometime in 2023, and now we've got Fowler Track. Basically, the TIA they did on Howard's Place included 20 developments in the Lick Creek watershed. There were 7 developments that wasn't included in that, maybe got overlooked, and that makes it 27 in the Lick Creek watershed. With all these developments and everything, the traffic could increase to 62,397 vehicle trips per day.
Say that again.
62,397. Now that's an estimate based on the TIAs. And the TIAs, there are several big developments that did a TIA, but there's a lot of small developments that wasn't required to do a TIA because it didn't increase the peak hour traffic by 150 vehicles per day. And a lot of developments that are small, they try to keep it so they don't have to do that TIA to oh, we're only going to increase the traffic to 149 peak hour traffic. So that's 62,000. It's just not going to be on NC 98. It's going to be dispersed between NC 98, US 70, Leesville Road, and Sharon Road. Sharon Road also is over capacity today. And when these developments get built out, it's going to be a mess. Some people say, well, when or how long is it going to take a development to build out? And it varies. Sweetbriar on Olive Branch was approved in 2020, I believe, but they're just starting to build their townhouses now. Everett on Leesville Road was approved in 2022, and they've got maybe 25% of their townhomes built already. So it just depends on the developer and how fast they want to move along, on how long. So we could have, 62,000 additional traffics in the next 2 to 5 years.
So estimate right now, I know we were trying to talk about this last week, as far as how many, what the percentage of the developments are built out right now, just to give people an idea. Because I know my husband, my sister-in-law were always complaining we can't get out of our driveway on Highway 98. So we were playing around last week with numbers in our team meeting, and we estimate that we are built out about what percentage in Southeast Durham on Lick Creek?
Well, in Lick Creek, watershed, I think we said about 20 to 30% that were built out.
So if you think traffic is bad now, just remember we're about 20 to 30% built out with these new 27 developments in the Lick Creek watershed alone. So imagine when we go over to Leesville Road and Highway 70, because there's another big project that we talk about, Gateway, that's coming, and we've had some meetings with that with the developers. That's massive. It's huge. What is it? 1,500 houses.
1,750 townhomes basically, and it's got light commercial in there, and they're estimating anywhere from 20 to 24,000 vehicles per day added to Leesville and US 70. The sad thing is there's no major projects that's on the books funded for this area. Nothing on NC 98, and for US 70, there is one project that is in the 2050 Transportation Improvement Program, but the city of Durham is still working on a traffic analysis to determine what type of freeway, expressway, boulevard to put there to handle the traffic. No. Gateway, they're expecting a build out, I think, by 2030. And we don't have anything funded for US 70 in Durham County in the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan.
A lot of times you hear people talk about the MPO. So just so we understand, it's the Metropolitan Transportation Plan that our county and our city represents are on the board of that. And they're the ones who are holding up and not pushing for transportation projects in this area. So everybody needs to understand, because I want to make sure this is really clear. NC 98 and US 70 do not have a current project planned to widen them, to enlarge them, to change the routes. So I get asked all the time living on Highway 98, well, aren't they going to widen in front of your house? And the answer is no, it's not in the plan as of the 2050 MPO plan. Correct?
Right. That the US 70 project is in there, but the city DOT in 2021 was working on preliminary plans for a freeway. They had done analysis on expressway. The expressway did not work, and so they moved it to a freeway. And was working on the preliminary plans, had done all the natural resource, community impacts, done 2 public hearings, and was moving forward with a freeway option for US 70 in Durham County to connect to U5518 in Wake County, which would be a freeway from Durham County line to I-540. The Durham MPO requested that be put on hold so they could do additional analysis. And they have done analysis on a boulevard, but they never did a comparison analysis for the freeway. And when DOT did it in 2021, they'd done it based on traffic in 2017 or 2018. And now we're 7 years with increased growth out here, major growth, not just in Lick Creek, but in Little Lick Creek over there off Middle Springs and Pleasant Drive, Andrew Avenue. Page Road has had a massive explosion of townhomes on it in the last couple of years. So the traffic volumes should have increased quite a bit. So when they do their next count, which would be this fall normally on NC 98 and US 70, I'm thinking they're going to see quite a bit increase.
And while we're talking about that, let's talk about the amount of wrecks that we're seeing on NC 98. So again, I live directly on NC 98, so there's only one way to get out of my driveway to go anywhere, and that is our NC 98. We all know that there have been some new stoplights put in place. They're not working yet, but they are at Kemp Road. We know there's a new one going at some point down at Southie will probably be there. And this new development, if it goes in along 98 Highway, we know of at least one additional stoplight will be put there. But what we're seeing is tremendous wrecks. In the last 2 years, we're going to show some pictures of some, not just little tiny fender benders, but very serious car wrecks that are flipping cars upside down or causing cars to have, they're completely damaged. No way you could drive it away from the scene. They're totaled, no doubt. You can look at it and say that's gone. And recently we had one in February that shut down the whole southeastern side of town for about 700 residents. That went on for over 12 hours.
On Highway 98 is fueling a lot of traffic concerns.
Yeah, but people say development needs to hit the brakes. CBS 17's Ben Boken reports from Durham.
When Florence Coates walks to her mailbox on Highway 98 in Durham County, she says she sometimes fears for her life as cars race past her just inches away.
When we moved here, the road was narrow, there wasn't hardly any traffic at all, and now it's like a racetrack out here most of the time.
On this 2-lane highway, neighbors say they've counted over a dozen serious wrecks within this 2-mile stretch. This crash happened earlier this month, knocking out Tom Freeman's power.
The city limits is sprouting up all around us with these spot high-density developments. So the traffic load today is quite excessive.
And when cars aren't speeding, they say traffic is at a standstill during rush hour. The Department of Transportation tells me they do have projects planned on Highway 98, but just not on this particular stretch.
It's very dangerous out here, with the speed, the wrecks that are occurring.
A proposed development right behind Coates' house is poised to add over 4,000 cars on this road each day, according to the city.
I don't know whose idea it is to put all this development out here and which is going to turn that much more traffic out onto 98 Highway.
We reached out to city officials to find out if they're taking these concerns into account when approving developments, and we're still waiting to hear back. In Durham County, Ben Boken, CBS 17 News.
Nothing moved on NC 98 right in the Zinc House winery area due to a serious head-on collision. Although the truck driver did a great job of avoiding a complete head-on, but still had to go down an embankment to save his life and the lives of these other 2 vehicles that were involved. But we're not seeing a lot of progress on 98. Again, they're not going to widen NC 98. It's not in the plan. But what we are getting are, even on Leesville and other roads, are these turn lanes. So I wanted you to maybe address the turn lanes and also to talk about if they did make NC 98 in that stretch 45 miles an hour, which has been discussed, how would that impact traffic?
Oh, as I stated before, I'll start with the capacity and everything. And right now there are like 9 to 11, maybe 12 traffic signals that are being proposed in the Lick Creek area just alone. As everyone says, there's another light on US 70 that provides left turns into the new developments that are in Brightleaf. Is almost up on Doc Nichols at Leesville Road. They're looking at a light on NC 98 at Kemp is being put up right now. It should go into operation fairly soon. But there's about 9 to 11 that may be put up in the next couple years. With that, lights are great to get people out of a development or a side road. But the more lights go in, the more backup and the more congestion. Now, NC 98 had a corridor study completed in 2018. That was in coordination with the Capital Area Management, MPO, which is Wake County, and also Durham's MPO. So, which proposed NC 98 to be 4 lanes with a divided median and left turns and only. But for some reason or another, these developers aren't being required to provide the right-of-way or for all the left turns, the right turns, the 17.5-foot median, what was proposed in the NC 98 corridor study. I don't understand why, because I see in Wake Forest on their widening projects, developers are putting in 5-lane sections. Maybe it's only for 1,000 feet, but they're putting in 5-lane sections. For this project, Howard's Place, the linear feet of NC 98 is over 3,000 feet. They could put in leftovers or turnarounds like US 401 has, Rollsville, that they're putting in now. So why aren't the developers required to put in more and better access than just a left turn lane or a right turn lane? Especially one that has 3,000 linear feet from one end to the other. And I don't know if you've been down in NC 98, at 3 o'clock when they go in to take in, pick up students, but traffic is backed up all the way in NC 98, all the way to Oak Grove to the west to get into Neal. And then starting about 4 o'clock traffic, it's a continuous line of traffic to Wake Forest. It's hard for anybody to get out into the road now, especially to take a left turn. You almost have to take a right turn, drive down to the next intersection, then do a U-turn. It's overcapacity now, and all these developments are only going to increase capacity, and we need roads and intersections built better than just the minimum left turn and the minimum right turn.
And to add to that, when you come out of these developments, and at least we've seen at Triple Crown Farm, I believe we call it the pork chop or something was the nickname for it. Yes. But it's right turn lane only. So it forces you to go down NC 98 until you can get a clear area to do a turnaround and U-turn and come back. You are forced, although we've seen many, many times, which I'm sure I have video, Tina, where people go over the median and do an illegal left turn. And so that is not the way it's designed. But people don't want to waste their time by forced to go right and to go down to the next intersection and try to make a loop around. And it did cause an accident. We have an accident in our photo documents here that shows exactly that from August the 1st, 2024 at Triple Crown Farm, where a person tried to make an illegal left turn at that pork chop exit. The median looks like pork chop.
Yes, it's so people can only do a right in and right out at the intersection. And there is a small concrete island there also to keep them from trying to make a left turn like you're talking about, but they could just go past that. In fact, the other day when I was going down NC 98, a truck decides, with a trailer behind it, decides to do a U-turn right at the end of that pork chop and the median island. And I mean, if I wasn't aware, I wouldn't have thought he would have done that or even tried, because he had to go over on the shoulder to make the U-turn.
That's very true. So it's we see it all the time. I live there, so it's easy for me to see constantly people doing that. And I can't tell you how many times the signs in that median have been replaced and they're knocked down. If I went there right now and took a picture, I guarantee there's not one sign standing on that island, that concrete island, that's got the reflective markings on it to let people know slow down, to turn around, or to pay attention as people were exiting out of that
I
development.
even think they quit putting the signs back. That I think they're just putting cones there now, and they're getting knocked down on daily, weekly basis and everything. So,
And if we duplicate this down at Howard's place, which is just maybe a mile down the road, it's going to be the same thing, I would expect.
yes, it would be the same thing. They do anticipate a light, but can you imagine what that light is going to back up in the morning? You know, the traffic is backed up. And we have some pictures of the traffic backed up on NC 98 in the afternoon, and some of the situations in US 70 and back up at Neal. It's ridiculous, and it's congestion, and it's not always speed that causes accidents. The more congestion you have, the more people get a little irritated, wants to move around. It increases accidents also. We need to do something about the congestion. And since there's no plans on NC 98, why for a state project or a federal project, why aren't the developers made to improve these leftovers or right turns or the median and put something in that really protects the citizens that have to travel up and down?
That's an excellent point, Pam. So, we have seen, as you're going to see in these pictures that Tina's going to share, very, very serious accidents. These are not just minor fender benders, like I mentioned. They're very serious, could be deadly. And as a matter of fact, it's amazing that some of the people lived to get out of these pictures that you're going to be seeing. We did have a death by a bicyclist December of 2023. She was traveling west on NC 98 on a Sunday morning and was hit by a car and knocked over into the ditch and did not make it. It's just really sad to see the number of fatalities that we have had on NC 98. And as Pam said, if people weren't being aware, or this truck driver driving that day had not been a very professional person to avoid hitting these two people head on, it would have been fatalities that day, no doubt. No doubt it would have been fatalities. But he, quick thinking, went down an embankment to spare the lives of these two individuals. And we worry because, again, we're only about 20 to 30% built out. What's it going to be in another 4 or 5 years when all these developments are built out? It's very alarming. It's very concerning. And all the neighbors in the area are very worried, to be quite honest. And so something needs to be done. And I won't put Pam on the spot, but she herself became a victim of a driving incident this winter on NC 98, and ended up having to be cut out of her car. So it was just over the Wake County line, but still, NC 98 is a very dangerous road. Yeah. So.
And in that accident, the driver who caused the accident, I was the third car hit. He totaled my car and another car, but he was only going 45 miles an hour. It's 45 miles an hour is not going to solve the problem that we have with the overcongestion. And this is where we have to make sure our MPO, our city reps, our county reps know that we are concerned and we need a project out here, just not on NC 98, but also on US 70. We need to get them on the books, and the only ones that can push it to get on the books for NCDOT to do a project is our MPO. Yeah. But they are more concerned at this time about preparing for the future, where people are using buses to get to work and not taking care of the people that are here now.
So, we take it serious. We're concerned, and Preserve Rural Durham has spoken many times at city council meetings and even to our county commissioners about our concerns. But we will say that there was a Southeast Durham focus study done before all this development started during the COVID time period, and the citizens like us that's try to stay very informed knew nothing about it. And as we understand it, that Southeast Durham focus study was never completed. Had that been completed and the residents of Southeast Durham been involved, maybe some of the solutions would have come. But it didn't happen. And there are a lot of reasons we could give why it didn't happen. But we have lived out here I've lived here over 60 years in this area. Pam's lived in this area for a long time. Tina, many of our members with Preserve Rural Durham, and we're looking for answers because our lives are in jeopardy every time we leave our homes. Anything else we want to add?
The thing I would say is we need to get involved and push our NPOs. The US 70 project, it had 2 public hearings back in 2018, maybe 2019. For the freeway, it was unanimous for the people on the US 70 corridor to go with the freeway. NPO has had at least two public meetings. Those 2, even though they were talking about a boulevard, majority of the people requested a freeway be built on US 70 so people could get off of Sharon Road, off of Leesville Road, and get into traffic, and to separate the secondary roads from the main commuter road, which is US 70.
Sharon Road's definitely been hit very hard too. As she mentioned, Doc Nichols we looked at was over capacity, and more keep coming. And a lot of the Doc Nichols developments were under that radar, as she mentioned. They didn't meet the criteria to have to complete a TIA, a traffic analysis.
Yes.
So a lot of those squeaked under that radar, but yet the residents of Doc Nichols Road will be left to deal with that. So we are very alarmed about the congestion and the traffic flow in Southeast Durham, particularly the Lick Creek watershed.
And we've asked many times for county officials and city officials to do a cumulative impact study on what this growth is doing to Southeast Durham, particularly Lick Creek, not just to the human factor, but the environmental factor of what it's doing to the habitat for the animals. I myself have a development going in right behind me. I have the 300-acre Gateway community going in at the end of my road. And we have seen a decrease in the animals around here, the deers, the turkeys, the wild animals around here. And you know, they're coming more into the yards now than they ever have because they do not have the habitat and they do not have the corridors that they need.
Because we have a detailed list we keep, but the last time we looked, we were right at 5,000 acres of land that had been destroyed in Southeast Durham in our Lick Creek watershed. Because you got to remember, we don't just have a development come in and work around the trees like we used to. Now it's mass graded, clear cut, dynamite blasted, so that anything that was living in that soil is no longer living. So you think of the impact on the trees, the animals that live in the trees, and the trees are now gone. So it's really sad that we have done this to our animals, and nobody seems to be taking a look at that. So
and the endangered species
exactly, and plants, endangered plants that we've known to be in the area as well. Definitely needs to be someone step up. We need some help in Southeast Durham to complete traffic studies, a definite plan that will work, as well as to look at our creeks and our environment, because it's definitely suffering.